Here's a question. How did we get to $100,000 escape rooms? In 2014, there were less than 25 escape rooms in the United States.
Today, the trend is growing faster than ever.
You're locked in a room, finding keys and clues or solving puzzles.
It's the latest worldwide fad.
Now, there are almost 2,000, with many more around the world. How did this industry grow while getting so much more expensive? I talked to more than a dozen people.
Anybody can build something that's, like incredible. There are things that rival Disney in the escape room world that are built by two people in a strip mall.
And I learned basics like the crazy guests.
They were using language that a sailor would blush at.
They found it so shady that they thought we actually recruited them to do a heist.
One guy, he punched the door between rooms so hard that he made a hole into the door.
And the seriously addicted ones.
And I could keep naming companies for you. I could rattle them off like Bubba talking about ways to prepare shrimp.
Shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp burger.
But I also discovered a rapidly maturing industry with custom builders.
We've done some that were over 200,000 for a single experience.
And answers to why an experience has become an investment.
Yeah.
We get the question a lot, what did it cost? And they mean money, but we answer it, what's our answer to it?
4 years of our lives, and we do not want to know how much money it cost.
Okay, so I made this avatar who I think kind of looks like me. I don't know if the hair's quite right, but got the t-shirt. Then I found these pants, and I was like, when am I gonna wear pants like that in real life? He can dance too. He can really, really dance. Let's just say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
A lot of this isn't standardized. Even the things that we talk about today, you'll hear different people talk about the exact same thing with different terms.
The origin is also pretty muddy. For that, I'm gonna go to David, who by the end of this video, you'll know pretty well. I've had some people ask about the origin story, but it does seem to me a little bit soft. People are like, Japan.
It's super soft. There are three starting places. One is Scrap in Kyoto, Japan. One is Five Wits in Foxborough, Massachusetts. And the other is a company that also no longer exists called Parapark out of Budapest.
But what we are talking about in the United States was typically a single room with some padlocks and puzzles strewn around and a goal to get out. Remember, this is in 2013, 2014, the very beginning.
When we opened, there was one company open in Boston. In hindsight, it was just 4 white walls with a whole bunch of busted IKEA furniture and padlocks. They couldn't have spent more than $1,000 putting that room together. I mean, it was cheap, it was terrible, but it was so early days and nobody knew what to compare it to. It was great.
You usually play in a team, and it consists of public matches, pairings with strangers, and private ones, in which you only play with friends. Europe and the UK, they've almost always had private escape rooms. Public is more of a US thing, and that's declined a lot since COVID. You can see how this might affect the business model. Your goal then, as it mostly is today, was to navigate themed puzzles, space or a prison or whatever, and get out. Themes that you have, is that determined by the stuff you can get, or is it just like, I think this would be cool, like like Project Skylab, like, that sounds fun.
So a common thought process is that the little bit darker themes, the little bit spookier themes, those are the ones that really resonate with people. And then the other ones, they do okay. They're doing good, but they're not great.
You can tell you're talking to a nerd because I gravitate toward Project Skylab right away.
It's fun. It's a fun game, but it's not the most popular game.
Almost all escape rooms charge by the person, and the game time is typically an hour. People will need maybe a half hour to reset for the next set of players. And somebody asked this, they asked, how are things reset and replaced after each group goes in? Do they have a whole bunch of duplicates for each prop?
We don't normally replace things in between games. We do just put everything back to where it was. So we do have very stringent rules on how that happens, to make sure that we do it right.
It probably started with pretty simple locks. Today you'll have RFIDs, hall sensors, lots of other tech. I talked to Alistair, who has a YouTube channel, and he creates escape room puzzles for owners. He's got a background a lot of escape room owners do, which is in that kind of software engineering, software technology world. In the beginning, though, things were a lot simpler.
Academics, as it were, who study game design and who have monitored the progression of escape rooms will refer to generations of escape rooms. And Generation 1, which was, anytime from about 2012 to 2016, no, very, very little electronics, if any at all. We were looking at combination padlocks and probably a single room, possibly a secondary area that was closed behind a door. And so it's interesting because escape rooms have had a knock-on effect in puzzle design generally, I think, because there's now a category of what are known as escape room puzzles that are puzzles that resolve to a 4-digit number.
Nate started his escape room in Seattle super early. Since then, he's had them on cruise ships and all over the world.
Those things are built to, maritime standards to withstand drunk uncles by the thousands.
Yeah, right. But in 2013, it was just the beginning, and the budgets were really low.
Yeah, that was $7,000 all in. That's not even just the props and the technology, as it were. I mean, we're talking, registration, business license, maybe even first month's. Like, was pennies on the dollar. It's why we were able to do it, keep our day job.
Nate is the earliest escape room owner that I got to talk to, and he got to see the boom happen.
And one of the very first major articles on the topic, it was a big deep dive, it was well researched.
In 2015, MarketWatch put out this article called The Unbelievably Lucrative Business of Escape Rooms.
You can make your escape room company for $7,000, and we did, and it's a story for the ages. I hope they teach us in business school for years to come.
And this seems to correlate with a lot of the incredible boom that happened in the escape room space.
Budgets ticked up with that, but it wasn't too crazy yet.
We spent maybe $10,000 to build that game. You had jail bars, it had a bed, I found a toilet on Craigslist that I got ripped out of some local, jail, and we just kind of decored the whole thing out. And, at the time, that was revolutionary because nobody had played an escape room with multiple rooms in the US. Nobody had played an escape room with a hidden room. There was no such theming like this. So, that was sort of the step into, hey, we're spending more money.
Okay, before we get to that, I actually want to tell you a little bit about how I made this video, and that wouldn't have been possible, like for real, without today's sponsor, which is Notion. So important to help me do that. I write my scripts in Notion, I manage projects in Notion, but it is Notion's AI that actually helped me make this video. I'm gonna tell you how. I had like 10 hours, I think, of interviews. I needed like a research assistant to really help me figure out how to process all of that. I'm just gonna screen record this. So you can access Notion AI at any time. You just press spacebar, start asking a question, or you can go to the tab up here, click on it. You see this little Notion face. These very cute little facial expressions. Now, I have the transcripts, right? So I could search for a word, but it's harder to search for like a feeling or something that I vaguely remember using just words, but using Notion AI, I can. So I was kind of curious why people don't upsell more, like add drinks or stuff like that. And I know somebody mentioned that keeping drunk people out of escape rooms was better. So it's got Victor talking about this bachelor party. That's what I remembered. And it's got the timestamp right here.
We hardly have any bachelor parties, and that is great for us. That's a market that we're consciously missing because, like, for instance, we don't allow any teams that feel inebriated.
So if you look here, they have a marketplace with a bunch of different templates, and they have some templates that use this AI. And I found one that I loved. It was the AI meeting summaries template. And so I naturally thought to myself, well, I'm having a meeting with these people. I can generate a meeting summary. So I customized those meeting summaries to give me a little briefing on my interviews. So that is just the process that I used for this video. If you have any other questions about it, let me know in the comments. And click the link that is in the description to get started with Notion for free or unlock AI for $10 a month. Thank you, Notion, for sponsoring this video, but also for making it like possible. Let's get back to it. Around this time, 2015-ish, a lot more escape rooms started becoming multi-room experiences. Spoiler alert, many escape rooms are more than one room. The staff makeup is not often that complicated. Typically, it's a staff with an owner, a manager, and a game master who helps players and will watch them during their game and kind of keep them from damaging stuff. Most of the people I talked to said that the game masters were hourly employees. There were a couple salaried ones. So you can see from the beginning that most of the money is going into the rooms, building them and maintaining them, and then getting through as many people as possible. Some owners have even tried to improve that traffic flow through a tactic called pipelining, sending one group into part of a room while another is in the second part of the room. It's been limited though. Still, escape rooms spit off cash, especially when those initial room budgets were lower.
I had 20 grams, something like this, just like small amount. And our first adventure, and we get a small office space on the second floor of the office building, old office building, like zero visibility, super small. That was a huge success. I mean, we get our money back in like 2-3 weeks.
So if you're like me, you're noticing maybe two things. First is that the owner is kind of cycling through these escape rooms like a VHS tape. You play through an hour, they reset and repeat. After that initial cost, you're working to make that money back and then make a profit. The other thing you might be wondering though is, how does this still cost so much money?
Buying all these electronics, they cost a lot of money. You're spending thousands of dollars just on the guts for the electronics. Then you have to hire or do it yourself, set design people, right? Like you have to build things, you have to install lighting, you have to have, people to come inspect it, you have to have electricians, you have a square room and you want it to be 5 different rooms with a secret entrance, then you have to hire someone to partition those games, to move your sprinklers, to change. So let's say you put a partition and then you have to move your sprinklers. Moving one sprinkler can be like $800.
And then you do have to worry about the cost of keeping it running.
I've had someone rip a steel door off the hinges.
People are destructive gremlins.
I've had a safe ripped out of a wall, like drywall and everything came with it.
It's a real struggle and a constant battle.
And I had someone carve answers into the wall with a knife.
It's just unbelievable. The brutality.
I originally expected breakage to be somewhere around, 1 to 2% of my costs. It's somewhere around 10 to 15% of my total costs per month is just breakage.
You watch enough escape rooms being played, and you rapidly lose faith in humanity.
Once a month, someone pee there or vomit there.
People pee?
Yes.
My favorite is, on 420, we've got, Hempfest or whatever happens in the Boston Comet, and people book games just to take naps for an hour. These are my favorite customers. There's no resetting that happens. Nothing's going to get broken. They're friendly. They're going to take a nap and enjoy the air conditioning for a little bit. So that's good.
But I talked to all these people, and even as the industry was experiencing this hockey stick growth, customer expectations rose a lot. They're trying to build a whole new category here. And so as a result, escape rooms are getting way more complicated. The set designs are getting better. The games are getting a lot better. The whole experience is amping up, and that means it's amping up in price as well.
It was early on, it was looked at as a cash grab. Like it was very easy to make money. It's not so easy anymore. It's very difficult to make a successful thriving business now.
Generally, the trend has been that players now are expecting more high-tech, more magic experiences.
Around this time, set designers started getting into the industry too. I talked to Trey, who had a haunted house background. This is kind of a common thing. If you think about it, there are some similarities there.
I wanted to grow my company from just doing Halloween, which Halloween's great, but it's, you got 30 days to make your money. And, you can have good or bad.
He started designing sets for museums, and then when escape rooms happened, he started designing sets for them.
We have built escape rooms now literally all over the country. From the whole building we're in is like 22,000 square feet. A good part of that is our shop, our production facility. Then we have our attraction, which is probably about a little over 6,000 square feet. And then, of course, offices and stuff. Now we design, build our own stuff. We test it here. We put people through it. They check it out. They see, how it works. We get to develop it further. Then we can bring those items to market.
The same is true for Grant, who has a theater background, but he's designing puzzles and immersive experiences now for an escape room chain that he works for.
What kind of stuff do we have in back of you?
I know you'll probably not believe me, but I didn't set this up. My shop is very small. I just finished this the other day and I've been running groups through to test it. Also behind me, I've got whiteboards that sort of list out, there's a whiteboard in front of me, there's a whiteboard to the left of me, in the room next to me, there's whiteboards. I just have whiteboards everywhere.
From the very beginning, it has seemed to me like the escape room world is sort of these two worlds that occasionally overlap, but sometimes don't, where it's like puzzle land and theater land, and it's like,
if you're the type of person that can write a code and build a theater flat and paint it and write a story and get excited and tell a script to somebody in the lobby, that's great, because those are all the jobs that need to get done.
Some chains are entering the business too. There's one chain that makes and sells escape rooms kind of prepackaged around the world. Most owners that I talk to love either building or designing their own games, so they didn't go with this option, but with thousands of escape rooms around the world, you can bet that this is a big business. There are also escape room chains too. There's a few different chains. Everyone I talked to though actually felt pretty fondly about the chain, The Escape Game, because they feel like they were upping the quality of the category of escape rooms in general and doing a good job with it. It reminds me almost of the restaurant industry, in which, yes, TGI Fridays exist, but so do tons of local restaurants. I think these are also a thing because the industry is seeing even more challenges as it matures.
It's embarrassing, but how do I actually say the name of the building? Is it? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Beurs van Berlage. So there's a bit of the Dutch G in there, the G.
I'm so glad I didn't even attempt.
The former stock exchange.
Okay, so before we get to the world of artisanal escape rooms like The Alchemist, this room is just gorgeous, I want to set up how things have changed. COVID in 2020, it shook out a lot of owners who were just in it for the money, and those who remained were in a new world. There's a new problem that emerged. After 7 or 8 years, you might drain a market and have to replace a room to update the tech or draw repeat users, if you don't have special circumstances where new clients come in. So the competitiveness of the whole industry is forcing everybody to level up and to invest in higher budget rooms. You also start to get escape room discovery in 2 very different platforms.
How long has Morty been going for?
Yeah, Morty's been around about 4 years. We're the biggest community of escape room players, and our user base has logged about 1 million games all told between our community. So yeah, people find all the escape rooms, they track what they've done, they wish list. Yeah.
I talked to Andy, he's the CEO. He's also incredible at Lego art, which is pretty awesome. I forced him to show me his Chuck Close. And he can see stuff like trends happening in new types of rooms.
How do you see the mix between these bigger franchise and chain escape rooms versus mom and pops?
There's a lot more mom and pop than there are franchises. And that's one of the things I love about escape rooms, is that they really are mostly indie builders, right? They're mostly mom and pop, independent businesses. They've got 3 or 4 games, and I think that's one of the reasons there's still so much innovation happening even, a decade into escape rooms. We think the theme park is unbundled. It's because there's independent people that for the first time can build experiences that are up to Disney Imagineering level of quality.
And I talked to David as well, so he is part of the Room Escape Artist. This is something that's kind of crazy that happened. It started off as just a blog. It's expanded to include a podcast, a directory of all different escape rooms, a ton of reviews, and even a conference.
I left a lucrative job in tech to be doing this. I still do consulting on the side. My wife still, my wife Lisa, she still works full time. We have a lot of people working on Room Escape Artists. There are probably about 30 people who work on this in some capacity, some on the podcast, some on the convention, some on the editorial.
I want you to imagine Anton Ego from Ratatouille with the power to affect the search engine rankings for escape rooms.
The new needs friends.
Fan-focused resources like Morty and media empires like Room Escape Artists have affected the direction of the industry.
We had sort of fallen into the escape room industry through immersive theater, through haunted houses and stuff. And my business partner Christian and I were really into adventure games, like classic adventure games.
I talked to Zach. He ran an escape room, but it's really closer to a theater show. It was called Doors of Divergence, and it's at this bleeding edge of what escape rooms can do.
There's so much room for experimentation, so much room to do cool, different, wacky stuff. I believe in the premium entertainment, actor-driven, choice-driven, replayable model.
And then there's Amsterdam. So, like most of my videos, this one is a little bit American biased, but something that's clear even from my interviews is that Amsterdam is like this amazing escape room capital. In Europe, they're able to use these beautiful old buildings and get access to more real materials.
We pay a lot of money for the privilege of being in this beautiful historical building, but I think we get it back. We get enough from that. When you touch a fireplace, you want it to, when it looks marble, you want it to feel cold to the touch. And so we now went the extra mile and have a marble fireplace there.
Also, escape rooms have a slightly different origin in Europe.
The first one's in the Netherlands, and we were one of the 4 pioneers of the escape room scene in the Netherlands. But also the other 3 all have an artistic background, and they all have that thing that I've described to you, that itch to make it as good as it possibly can, to have special effects and story and immersion.
Victor and Francine run Sherlocked, this escape room experience in Amsterdam. They have 3 experiences. The Alchemist is their newest, and they almost went crazy doing it.
We had multiple moments where it was there was a chance that the company would go bankrupt. We survived the pandemic, then we got the wood price would go up by 20%. And then we got 15% inflation on top of that, which meant suddenly our budgets were cut by 15%, right? So,
I mean, is this all being supported by the business, or are there grants that you all can work with, or sort of things from the city or anything like that? I mean, I'm just trying to kind of understand.
I do hear from escape rooms that go for more pre-made, less ambitious games that sometimes they do have trouble filling slots. But what I see across the industry for the premium games is that they don't have that problem. There's always a demand for very special, original, touching experiences.
So that $100,000 room budget, it might not be high enough. So I came away from this really inspired because escape room owners are also inspired. They are struggling through running a business to try to make art. And that's really cool. I talked to Logan. He is part of a kind of younger generation of escape room builders and owners. And he's only been open a year and a half, but you listen to him talk and he's kind of encyclopedically referencing escape rooms that he loves. He's also super conscious on advancing the art form through really creative, well-designed puzzles.
Built for my Escape 80s game. It was an arcade machine with a custom game on it. You actually play this old 80s type game, and then the arcade machine is a door to the next room. And I reached out to a fabricator. The quote was $6,000 plus a couple grand to ship it, and I managed to build the whole machine myself for about $300. It's a lot of scrappiness, but it also, it took me a ridiculous amount of time learning how to do what I need to do and then executing upon that vision. So,
and if that weren't enough, Boris in Croatia, he has a team that shows you how everything has come full circle. A lot of escape rooms are thought to be inspired by early games like Myst or Riven, in which you clicked around to solve puzzles. And well, now Escape Room Simulator is a thing.
We did like a cool thing because we worked together with designers of real life escape rooms. Currently in the game there is like a 40 escape rooms and also 4,000 escape rooms made by the community.
The category is also growing too. This is the experience economy. It is growing into immersive games, into quests, into entire interactive cities.
We look at escape rooms as part of sort of a trend of like the unbundling of the theme park. We see escape room owners really as like pioneers of new formats of entertainment that are increasingly immersive and stimulating and engaging that people are looking to do.
There are so many escape rooms, despite it being a difficult business model at times, because there are just so many creators that are just so incredibly passionate about it.
Every time you get somebody to realize the magic of a great escape room, everyone in the industry benefits from that.
I'm not here during the Thomas Edison era of filmmaking. I think we've just started to invent sound. I think that's where we are as an industry.
Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing.
All right, that is it for this one. Thank you so much for being here and watching this. Thank you for your questions that you submitted on my community post. I asked a lot of them to escape room owners, hopefully answered them in this video. Thank you so much, though, to the owners and builders and commentators who talked to me. Everyone was so generous with their time. And these are people who are hustlers, right? They want to promote their business, so they talk to me. But every interview that I did ended with somebody promoting somebody else's work, saying how great somebody else was. Everyone was a fan that I talked to. And I just thought it was so inspiring to meet all these people who are grinding through a business, but they still care about the art that they're trying to make. I thought it was really cool, really inspiring. So go visit an escape room today if you haven't in a while. It has grown exponentially as an art form, and it's really cool. I have a reaction video to this one up on Patreon. I also do a newsletter over there with an article, and I think this one's really fun. It is all about the secret economics of axe throwing. I didn't think this was enough for a full episode, but Alexi owned an axe throwing location, and I asked him about it.
What is hard is teach others, because when you have someone who never throw anything, and some people, they just don't understand the concept of throwing objects.
You're gonna love it. There's something about the wood that they use that you wouldn't expect. So there's a link down below. Go check it out. Click it if you want to find that out. I send the newsletter out via Patreon, but it's entirely free, so no reason not to do it. And it's a way for me to communicate with you about present, future videos. All right, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, I hope you escape sometime in the near future. All right, bye.